Hey guys, what's up? It's Greg. Here is Find Your Film, episode 147. This episode I have an interview with the Locksmith director Nicolas Harvard, and it's a very interesting interview because he talks about his love for such filmmakers as Jean-Pierre Melville, and possibly currently as we speak, my favorite filmmaker. I used to say my favorite director was Brian De Palma. It still is kind of in many different ways, but lately within the last year and a half, Samuel Fuller has really gone up the list, maybe tying with Brian De Palma within the last couple of years. I love Samuel Fuller so much. So the fact that the Locksmith filmmaker Nicolas Harvard mentioned how much he loves Fuller's Shot Corridor, it gave me the proper excuse to actually open up my Criterion Collection Blu-ray of Shot Corridor, which I actually purchased a couple months ago during a recent sale. So I was able to watch Shot Corridor on Blu-ray, and that was a wonderful. You know what? That's a lie. I didn't actually watch it on Blu-ray. I just opened it a couple of days ago. I saw one of the special features on Blu-ray. I was a lazy you-know-what, and I saw Shot Corridor because it's currently streaming on the Criterion Collection. So I saw it. I saw it streaming on the Criterion channel, and then I watched one of the special features on the Blu-ray. But that said, the Blu-ray looks really cool, and I'm going to tell you a couple of reasons why it's worth getting Shot Corridor on Blu-ray, okay? And without having watched the actual film, but I will get to that in this segment, not this segment, within this episode, okay? But first up, you're going to get like an 8 or 9 minute interview with Harvard talking about The Locksmith. If you haven't listened to our review, me, Bruce, and Eric's review of it, check out our Cinematics podcast feed. We have a review of The Locksmith. I suggest this movie. I'm giving it 4 out of 5 stars. Centers on a locksmith named Miller, played by Ryan Phillippe. Just got out of jail, 10-year prison stint. He was basically framed for his actions and by a crooked cop. And now that it's 10 years later, he's getting back to society, reintegrate himself into society. Ving Rhames plays his mentor and very close friend who helps him get a job or two. Kate Bosworth is his ex-wife, who they have a daughter together, and they're trying to pick up the pieces together. And the ex-wife is a police detective. So there's a lot of intricacies here because his wife is a cop, but she works along with the cop who actually framed him or who actually got him into jail, okay, due to this double cross. Now, so that is the premise of The Locksmith, and I actually talked to Nicolas Harvard about the film. The reason why it's only about 8 minutes or so, like 8.5 minutes, is because he spent 4 minutes of the interview doing spoiler discussions about the end of The Locksmith. And that stuff you can actually find on our Cinematics Patreon feed. Okay, so it's some really good stuff because he talks about the different iterations of the script and why one of the characters and a fateful or interesting decision about one of the main characters of The Locksmith. Okay, so that stuff is walled off for our Patreon supporters. If you are a fan of The Locksmith or want to see it, definitely check out our Patreon feed because that has all the spoiler stuff there with Harvard's discussion of it and just a very quick comment as well from Ryan Phillippe. He doesn't answer specifically I asked Ryan the spoiler question, but he actually answered it with a very general comment. Okay, so that was fine, but a lot of that meat of that spoiler discussion is with Nicolas Harvard. I really enjoyed the film noirish touches of The Locksmith. What's interesting is Eric Holmes, a couple of days ago, he mentioned how he watched the movie twice, and I decided to watch it again. So I watched it twice. I was thinking, did I overpraise the movie? And I saw it a second time. I liked it just as much, if not more. Only barrier to entry is it's a very subdued film. Ryan Phillippe, it's not a colorful performance. It's intendedly very, I mean this in the best way, drab and somber, because there's nothing this character doesn't really have much to live for or smile about other than his daughter, whom he's trying to actually just make amends or get to know because he hasn't seen his daughter in 10 years. So interesting movie, character drama, family drama, and also there are some action sequences, but mainly it is a family drama with some crime thriller elements. So The Locksmith, as of this recording, available in theaters as well as on demand. Okay, so first you're going to get the Nicolas Harvard interview. Also, after that, I'll be doing a very quick mini review of Shot Corridor on Blu-ray and why you should If you don't buy it on Blu-ray, you should check it out on the Criterion channel. It's worth watching. Also, I will round out the episode with my latest Dollar Tree haul. I got so many discs recently that I decided to only, for this episode, rattle off a bunch of the Dollar Tree hauls that I have, the Dollar Tree purchases I have via Blu-ray. So you're going to just very quickly listen to some of the Blu-rays I got. When I say Dollar Tree haul, before it used to be really awesome because it would be $1 a disc, whether it's Blu-ray or DVD. This time out now, due to inflation, cost of living, I guess, they're now $1.25 each. So keep that in mind. I don't mind. $1.25 is great. So $1.25 for some of these movies might be worth it. Also, on the show notes, you're going to get, from moving forward, my weekly DVD and Blu-ray giveaways. So depending on when you download or listen to this episode, just know, even if you're late, if you're listening to this, hopefully, 4 or 5 weeks after this recorded, then you definitely missed out on that weekly giveaway. But my goal is, moving forward, every Find Your Film episode will have a show link, a link where you can look at my weekly Blu-ray and DVD giveaways on my website, Deepest Dream. And hopefully, if you time it right, like maybe I upload this on a certain date and you are one of the people who are listening, go immediately to the show notes and you will see what Blu-ray or DVD I'm giving away. It's very easy to enter. Okay. So that's keeping that weekly physical media schedule alive. Okay. So another thing, I'm very disorganized with the way I disorganize things. I'm not very organized. So moving forward, I actually want to make Find Your Film a more streamlined experience. I think an anchor of this podcast will be my interviews with filmmakers, and hopefully I can engage them as well on Blu-rays and DVDs, and down the road digital as well, because I'm not going to scoff on technology, the importance of having stuff on the cloud. Okay. But so hopefully we're going to get more coverage of that as well. But anyways, here's my interview. Oh, before I go, Eric Holmes has been working on podcast merchandise for our Find Your Film and Cinematics universe. I'll leave a link where you can get Cinematics hoodies or Find Your Film shirts and mugs, shower curtains, all that stuff galore. If you want to support me, Anderson, Bruce, and Eric in our podcast endeavors, okay? And lastly, but most importantly, if you don't know who Samuel Fuller is, if you have any kind of passion or appreciation for black and white films, you're going to want to listen to my mini review of Shock Corridor, okay, after the Harvard interview. All right, I'm going to be quiet now. Thanks again for supporting me, Bruce, and Eric on Find Your Film, and hit us up and give us some movie recommendations. We're all open for it. All right, guys, bye. I'm going to start off with a very superficial question first, but it's a compliment. How did you do that poster? That poster is amazing. The color pops. It just stands out. What was the idea behind it? It's amazing. So,
I wish I could take credit. It's the fine people at Screen Media, our distributor. They put together a big poster list, and that one definitely jumped out at me. It was the most kind of simply graphic. You're talking about the red and white one.
Yes. Yeah.
It was the most just really cool graphically and just simple and kind of throwback, like a little 70s to it. It kind of made it evoked kind of like The Getaway to me. So I was a big fan of it from the get-go. And I really pushed to have that one be the theatrical poster, and they went with it, and I'm thrilled with it.
Yeah, I really love this. These are the type of movies I really love. Ryan, during the interview, he mentioned Michael Mann's Thief as an inspiration. But can you speak to the fact that without giving too much away, The Locksmith is not your average revenge crime thriller? Because when someone usually gets out of prison on parole, as a viewer, you're expecting all the beats, the revenge beats, which is sort of like adrenaline cinematic shots for the viewer, but you went a different way. Was that a reason why you wanted to actually direct this film, because it goes a different way?
Yeah, indeed. And that was part of the whole development process of getting it to something that was more about his past and his family and the choices that he has to make versus, like you said, the more classic, avenging his dead friend. here it's the opposite. It's him getting roped into doing that. So that was very much something we wanted to explore, and especially with a guy like Ryan, who guy in his 40s who has Ryan himself has kids, and like we really talked about like what that would be, and how that path of trying to reconnect with your family, trying to create a relationship with people that you haven't seen in such a long time would be challenging, and how the conflict would really be from that other element of people trying to bring him back in.
During the motel sequence, I caught I think a clip of Touch of Evil, I'm guessing, and the other one was either To Have and Have Not, or maybe The Big Sleep. I could be wrong. Were these films influential for you as far as being maybe either growing up, you want to do a little throwback, or can you just talk about that inclusion into your film? Because your film has those neo-noir or straight up film noir touches to it.
Yeah, it was Good Eye. It was indeed The Big Sleep. Those are two films among many, many films that I watched as a teenager and into my 20s. When I was studying film history in Paris, of all places, where classic Hollywood films are revered. Like that, you can see them in movie theaters every day of the week. They'll do like a Howard Hawks retrospective, or they'll do an Orson Welles retrospective. So I got to see film prints of those movies in all their glory. And so when I started looking for a script to direct, the noir genre was calling, because it's always been one of my favorites. It's something I'm really passionate about. And so that's what we endeavored to make with The Locksmith, was a kind of modernized neo-Western, neo-noir. And when I was given the opportunity to fill some TV screens with some content, I didn't want to make it some crappy rights-free old TV show or whatever. It was like, I don't know, let's put the classics in there, even if it's a little bit heightened, a little bit unrealistic. I liked the little nod, and I think it fits in pretty well.
I'm just going to ask a really out there highfalutin question. You're talking about watching cinema in Paris and, in France, and just getting your cinematic education there. Did you feel, or just during your life, do you ever feel an affinity towards, regarding The Locksmith, regarding filmmakers who, maybe you mentioned Hawks working big within the studio system, but there are so many interesting filmmakers who work pretty much outside the studio system, whether it's Poverty Row filmmakers or noir directors who had a specific budget and a bunch of days. And maybe only even years later, there's so many people who really appreciate those films. Do you feel an affinity to those type of artists from yesteryear, because you had a specific budget and you're actually trying to make some art out of a very constrained, maybe creative space? And maybe that's where some of the best stuff happens. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it can be argued that Howard Hawks and those guys, they were working within the studio system. They made beautiful movies that weren't high budget, but they had resources. They had a backlot, they had stages and a massive property department and a great costumes department. And they could just kind of like pull from those and like make a great movie right there on the lot in Los Angeles. I have a super soft spot for Jean-Pierre Melville, French filmmaker, total noir director, a little bit older than the new wave guys, but very much, very, very much considered part of the new wave, like old guard new wave, where he was one of the first French filmmakers making kind of big stories to take a camera out into the streets and actually shoot on location in Paris versus on the French backlots, So lots of love for Mr. Melville. I thank him in the credits. Lots of affinity for like a Sam Fuller,
I love him.
who worked, like you said, outside of the studio system, but with the same kind of energy and attention to beauty and poetry that a lot of the a lot of the noir guys had. So it's, yeah, there's definitely a lot of admiration there.
Well, Nicholas, I got to go. Thank you so much for your time. But before you leave, let's just pretend you're a professor in Paris teaching cinema. You have a movie to pick from Samuel Fuller and a movie from Melville, just personal favorites. What two films are you screening for your students and why?
Wow. Okay. I mean, Shock Corridor is the ultimate Sam Fuller movie. You have to see it. Everybody has to see Shock Corridor. Just how to make a movie in the most gritty, slap a camera onto a car, let's go way, right? And Melville's a lot harder. I'm really, really partial to Bob le Flambeur. Bob.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. That's like, it's a really cool, all in Paris, all in bars, old school noir. And it's so different from the classics, right? Like the Red Circle and
Army of Shadows,
Samurai.
Yeah.
Army of Shadows, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bob le Flambeur has a really special place in my heart.
Okay, thank you again. Very quickly, Blu-ray or DVD release physical media? Will it be physical media, or will it just basically digital and on demand?
It's theaters and VOD on Friday, and then a DVD and Blu-ray. I think it's March 14th.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so like Redbox and Walmart's.
Great, Nicholas. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks again, man.
Thanks, Greg. Take care.
Take care. Okay, so that was Nicolas Harvard. If you've listened to it, I asked him, or did not listen to it, I'm just going to recap. My final question was asking him what Samuel Fuller movie would he pick for his students if he was teaching film class over in Paris, and his choice was Shock Corridor. I have here right now in my hands the Criterion Collection Blu-ray of Shock Corridor. Again, I recently purchased this on one of the Barnes & Noble's sales, and I thought it was a steal and a deal. I look at here, one reason why you should get it, as if you're a fan of physical media, is the artwork. I'm opening it right now. The artwork on the cover is by Daniel Clowes. Wait, I'm sorry, I'm mispronouncing his name. The artwork is by Daniel Clowes. Daniel Clowes. He is the screenwriter and comic book artist behind such films as Ghost World, Art School Confidential, and most recently, I think back in 2017, in my opinion, the underrated Woody Harrelson film, Wilson. Okay. So Daniel Clowes, you might know him, especially if you're a fan of Art School Confidential, or I guess Ghost World would be considered among film fans as his most popular work. He was the screenwriter behind that movie, and it's based, I believe, on his graphic novel as well. So if you have any idea of what Clowes' work is like, it's beautiful and it stands out and it's awesome. And he provides the Blu-ray cover for Shock Corridor, as well as the disc. So you see the artwork on the disc as well. You see a pink lady on the disc. You see a pink lady with some kind of, I don't know what are those feathery things. The girl in it is played by Constance Towers, and she plays the striptease girlfriend of the main character of Shock Corridor. So you see a pink illustration of that character, and then you see a half profile of the main character of Shock Corridor, who we'll get into in about a second. But the Shock Corridor disc itself is artwork from Daniel Clowes as well. So that's really cool to just check out on a visual level. It's worth as far as collecting. Okay. Now, as far as Shock Corridor, why should you see this movie? Why is it worth watching? In my opinion, I saw Shock Corridor like maybe 2 or 3 times. And this is, for some reason, the first couple of times I saw Shock Corridor, I missed out on just a very, very big plot. And maybe it's because when the ages I saw Shock Corridor, I maybe was really just impressed by the actual either visuals or the actual plot line without all of the nuances behind it. I have no idea. And in defense of my senility or my forgetfulness, I was listening to a podcast where they said one of the subplots was also forgettable. So maybe that's why as well. But let me start with my discussion of what Shock Corridor is about. First of all, 1963. It's a black and white film. Okay. And it centers on this guy named Johnny Barrett. Johnny Barrett is played by an actor named Peter Breck. Johnny Barrett is this very ambitious reporter, journalist, and he wants to win the Pulitzer Prize. He will do anything to actually get that prize. One of the biggest stories, at least from his POV, is the murder of an inmate named Sloan at a mental institution or asylum, or what's the right word? Let's just say institution. So Johnny Barrett decides to actually investigate the mysterious killing of Sloan, because they don't know who murdered this patient. And Johnny's mission is to go into the asylum or institution, not as a investigative journalist, but as actually one of the people, one of the mentally ill patients. So Johnny Barrett has been practicing for a year on his mental illness, and he's been prepped by different people, by actually a doctor named, well, I'm looking for the doctor right now, by this Asian doctor named Dr. Fong, played by actor Philip Ahn. Philip Ahn is I am not very good when it comes to Asian American history as far as actors go in Hollywood, but I'm looking at his IMDb and he had a long career. But credit goes to Samuel Fuller for casting Asian American actors in his movies. There's one movie of his called The Crimson Kimono, which has an Asian actor as the romantic and lead of the film. I still haven't seen that. So anyways, but let's get back to Shock Corridor. Anyways, this journalist, his goal is to find out who the killer is. So he ultimately decides he's prepped to actually research this institution. He gets in as one of the patients, much to the distress of his girlfriend, Kathy. Kathy is played by Constance Towers. And Kathy, to make ends meet, she is a striptease artist. Okay. So there are a couple of moments in the movie where you see Kathy in not full striptease, but there are a couple of musical numbers that she does, and she's dancing, and the camera really loves her. I'll be talking about the camera in a second, but Constance Towers is very good in this movie as well. And she would later go on to the following year. She would be the lead in Samuel Fuller's critically acclaimed film, The Naked Kiss. But anyways, back to Shock Corridor. While Johnny is in the institution, he ends up, the movie's broken down into 3 different parts. He ends up interviewing 3 different witnesses to the murder. And all of these witnesses are mentally unstable. They're mentally ill. Each of them have different takes on what happened. They give him different clues to who the actual killer was. One of these patients is Trent, played by actor Harry Rhodes. And Trent is a black man who believes he actually founded the KKK. So there's a whole segment with Trent being racist to another black patient in the asylum, and it leads to a race riot situation in the clinic or in the area. And there's also another guy who is a former nuclear physicist named Bowden, played by actor Gene Evans. That's another witness. And then there's another witness here. I'm trying to remember what the witness did. Hold on one second. Sorry. The other witness is played by actor James Best, and you might know him. I think he played, who did he play in Dukes of Hazzard? That's his most notable role from the Dukes of Hazzard, but he's very good in this movie. He didn't play Enos. He played Sheriff Roscoe Coltrane in 141 episodes of the Dukes of Hazzard. So you know him basically. I'm sure a lot of you know James Best as a comedic actor. Here it's a straight up drama. He plays Stewart, a patient who believes he is a Civil War general, when in fact he is a military vet, but he served this time in the Korean War. So there's a lot of different layers to this character, Stewart, played by James Best. So the movie is broken down to 3 different sections where Johnny Barrett, the journalist, interviews these witnesses in his own way as a patient, and he tries to find out who is the killer of this man named Sloan. So a part of Shock Corridor is a murder mystery thing. And for some reason, I did not remember this element the first couple of times I saw this. I think the first time I saw Shock Corridor was in my 20s and then in my mid 30s. And I think probably because I was at a younger age, I'm not intimidated, but seduced. I was seduced by the charisma of Samuel Fuller's just out there. The guy, I was thinking, whenever I think of Sam Fuller, I think about the sort of, he's a little bit short like me. He didn't look like a 5'10", 5'11" guy, maybe 5'7", 5'8" guy, chomping on a cigar. He doesn't really have a full head of hair, but he's very outspoken and brash and passionate. And this the plot line to Shock Corridor about a journalist who embeds himself in a mental institution and who may actually become one of the patients just seemed very just pulpy and sexy to me, that maybe the first 2 times I saw it, I was just more blown away by the actual sensationalistic nature of the movie, that I did not remember all of the different layerings to the movie. So yeah, but now I'm early 50s. I understand the movie better. So a little bit better. Now I'm just going to give this Shock Corridor a mini review. And if you're not a fan of black and white, probably, and old movies from yesteryear, probably don't see it, right? But there's a reason why a couple reasons why I think on a base level, you should give Shock Corridor a glance or a look-see or maybe a shot. First of all, it's great acting from the lead actor, Peter Breck. And just looking at interviews, supposedly this is probably his most critically acclaimed or maybe just most layered role, even though he had a very distinguished career. He's very good as a journalist who will do anything it takes to get the story down. Constance Towers is great as his striptease girlfriend. And then there's so many different, all of these witnesses, they have their chances to shine as well. But you can say that for about so many different films that you see, right? Great acting, great performances, etc. Yeah, this movie has it. This movie is also shot on a very interesting timeline. Was only shot for 10 days, 10 friggin' days. It took Samuel Fuller to actually shoot this movie. Okay, so there is a very much of an indie flair. Also, what's really cool is Fuller had, even though the producer of Shock Corridor, I think he signed with this producer for 2 films. For this movie, for Shock Corridor, and the following year for The Naked Kiss. I'm trying to remember the name of the producer, but I was reading on Samuel Fuller's autobiography that this producer basically was not a great up and up producer, meaning he didn't get a lot of money. He didn't see a ton of residuals from either film, which is heartbreaking because both of these films are considered among Fuller's best work. That said, in his autobio, he said, well, even though, I'm paraphrasing, even though this producer was pretty much crooked, there was a silver lining to it. He was able, especially with Shock Corridor, he was able to get final cut of the movie. So that's very rare, no matter what station you're in life as a filmmaker, to actually get final cut and to see your vision as a filmmaker out there on the silver screen for all to see. All that said, on a base level, the reason why I think you should give Shock Corridor a shot, because like I said, all the great performances, the indie flavor, you've heard that me say this a million times about different movies that I've reviewed with the guys over the years. But I feel this is worth looking at on a visual level because the movie's cinematographer is Stanley Cortez. And Cortez, his most popular films are The Magnificent Ambersons and The Night of the Hunter. Both of these films that I mentioned are considered 2 of cinema's most beautiful looking films. The Magnificent Ambersons was directed by Orson Welles, even though the movie itself is truncated in its length. It's just I saw it about, I think with Anderson about a couple of years ago or a year and a half ago. We did it on, I think we reviewed it on Cinematics on the Patreon feed. So that's a great looking movie. And The Night of the Hunter, starring Robert Mitchum and Shelley Winters, is just, again, if the use of black and white with its, I think the proper term is German expressionism, the expressionistic flair of Cortez shines through in The Night of the Hunter. Both of these films, Magnificent Ambersons and The Night of the Hunter, you can actually just pause each frame, it seems, and just blow it up and put it on your wall. They're just works of art. The same can be said with Shock Corridor, and it's just really beautiful to look at. On Fuller's autobiography, he talked about how he talked to Stanley Cortez about no matter where they were shooting, he only wanted one source of light into the frame. And that's why a lot of this movie, even though it has an indie flair to it, looks absolutely beautiful. Especially, and if you are a black and white fan, Shock Corridor, even if you don't think the story works for you, it's just a sight. It's a visual marvel to see. Okay. So I really loved Shock Corridor, and upon the third time watching it, As far as features on the Blu-ray, there is a 28-minute interview with Constance Towers. And during the interview, she talks about working with Fuller, her memories of going on a fishing trip. I forgot where. Was it Baja or something, where he caught a great white shark? So that was some really good memories. And she also talks about her work as an actress and collaboration with director John Ford and Samuel Fuller. So it's a really cool 28-minute interview with Constance Towers. I interview a lot of people, and I think she's 89 or 90 now. I'm going to see if I can write her and see if I can actually interview her. Probably not. I don't know if she'd ever take my request, but this would be a great sort of yesteryear cinema interview with Constance Towers. So that's one of the special features. The other one is this documentary called The Typewriter, the Rifle, and the Movie Camera. It's a 1996 documentary directed by Tim Robbins, I believe. Yeah, Tim Robbins. What's interesting about this movie is this documentary, which runs at 55 minutes. I played a little bit of it on the Blu-ray, and the documentary is full frame. I guess that's the way it was. I first saw this on a VHS tape that was given to critics and journalists back in 96. And it was thanks to this documentary. Okay, what was it called again? The Typewriter, the Rifle, and the Movie Camera. Thanks to this documentary back in 96. That was the year when I started getting into Samuel Fuller. Okay, so it's been 26, this quote unquote love affair. My love affair with Sam Fuller has been about 26 years on. And one of my big current regrets is I still haven't seen all of his movies as of yet. But this documentary, I really do need to rewatch it, even though it's directed by Tim Robbins. There's some other, I'm sure, insightful anecdotes from Jim Jarmusch, who is huge director. Jim Jarmusch is a huge Samuel Fuller fan. I believe Quentin Tarantino is in this as well. I think, if I recall, they have an anecdote regarding their love for the steel helmet. I haven't seen the doc since 96. I should have probably seen this before I did a mini review of Shock Corridor on Blu-ray. Yeah, I think that's... Oh, also, what's great is it also comes with a booklet, which has just a review of Shock Corridor by some film scholar, which I'm trying to look right now. The illustrations are really great, so it's really worth a purchase. And it also has an excerpt talking about Shock Corridor from Samuel Fuller, and it's taken from his book, from Samuel Fuller's book, which is my most worthy movie book purchase, along with the Sidney Lumet Making Movies book I have. These two books are my favorite movie books. Samuel Fuller, A Third Face, My Tale of Writing, Fighting, and Filmmaking. And it's an introduction by Martin Scorsese. Well, a piece of that book, like an anecdote of it, maybe several pages, is actually in the booklet here, as he talks about the making of Shock Corridor. Okay, so that is it. That is my take on Shock Corridor. They're down this feed, this Find Your Film feed. I apologize for all my stammering and whatnot. It's just I'm such a fan of Fuller, and there will be more coverage of his Blu-rays and DVDs down the road. My suggestion to you, though, is if you love the artwork of Daniel Close, it's worth just buying it for that as far as a collector. And you never know the DP work of Stanley Cortez. It's just, you may not be as crazy about this movie as I am, but it's just worth watching on a visual level. Okay, that is Shock Corridor. Hey guys, so here's my Dollar Tree haul for this week. Also, if you want to be part of the Blu-ray DVD contest giveaway, just check on the show notes. I will have links every single episode of Find Your Film that drops, and hopefully you will be in sync with some of these giveaways. Okay, so let me start off without further ado on the Blu-rays that I've received. First off, I'll See You in My Dreams, starring Blythe Danner and Martin Starr, June Squibb, Rhea Perlman, Mary Kay Place, love Mary Kay Place by the way, Malin Ackerman, and Sam Elliott. Comes with Blu-ray, DVD, and digital. I'll See You in My Dreams. I believe this was directed by Brett Morgan. And there's bonus feature is a special featurette, a look inside I'll See You in My Dreams. And I don't know if the digital still works, but hey, for $1.25, not so bad. I have the Blu-ray for It. I actually have 2 copies of It here. I purchased it right now. Not right now, but when I actually went to Dollar Tree, I purchased 2 copies of It. There's something called The Maltese Holiday. It's a Christmas movie starring Ashley Brinkman and Cody Calafiore, Blu-ray, DVD, and combo pack. The reason why is Cody Calafiore, he is a Big Brother winner. I'm a huge fan of that CBS show, Big Brother. I just decided to get it. Again, it's $1.25. Speaking of which, Dwayne Johnson Blu-ray for Rampage special features. I've never seen this movie, by the way. Gag reel and a bunch of featurettes. So there's some deleted scenes. Okay. I had this before. Jeff Who Lives at Home. I got that. There is another copy of Florence Foster Jenkins. I have like about 15 or 16 of these, it seems. A Blu-ray and digital HD copy of Trumbo, starring Bryan Cranston as Dalton Trumbo, co-starring Diane Lane and Helen Mirren. Chuck. I believe this is the real story of Rocky Balboa, or the untold story of the inspiration for Rocky Balboa, that is, my bad. Starring Liev Schreiber and Elizabeth Moss. Got this on Blu-ray as well. Let's see, does it have any special features? Special features is a featurette called All About Chuck. There is a BBC Earth Blu-ray I have called Hidden Kingdoms, narrated by Stephen Fry. The Martin Scorsese film Hugo, I saw this in the theaters and love this movie. Blu-ray feature film. Special features include just several featurettes. Are there any deleted scenes? There are no deleted scenes, but just a whole bunch of featurettes on this movie. Commentary from Scorsese would be nice, but anyways, love that movie. There's a film called Teen Spirit. I did the actual interviews for this. Stars Elle Fanning in the lead, from the producer of La La Land. This has Blu-ray and digital. What's interesting about this is that, let me see what this, okay, there's feature commentary with director Max Minghella, producer Fred Berger, and executive producer Jamie Bell. I liked this movie, okay, and I'm actually keeping Teen Spirit. You know why? Because I did the press junket and it brings back some memories. I like this movie. And director Max Minghella, I'm sure a lot of you know him either as the son of late filmmaker Anthony Minghella or for his work in The Handmaid's Tale or something. I don't watch TV shows that much, but Max Minghella was also the lead in a movie years back called Art School Confidential, a movie based on, I believe, the graphic novel, or in the screenplay was written by Daniel Klaus, the artist behind the Blu-ray cover of Shock Corridor. So that's interesting. Max Minghella, Daniel Klaus connection for Find Your Film. There's a movie called Beirut with John Hamm and Rosamund Pike, or Rosamund Pike, Blu-ray, DVD, and digital. This is another copy. Whenever I see this at Dollar Tree, I'm just going to get it because look, it has several featurettes and I believe, well, actually no, just 2 featurettes, but it looks like a good movie. Anything with Rosamund Pike, I'm going to purchase. Okay. Mads Mikkelsen, Arctic. I enjoyed this movie. Digital movie included. A lot of these digital codes, most of them don't work, but the ones that do, it's just like Christmas and I don't know where, but it just feels like Christmas when you get both the digital and the physical media release. All right. Again, another copy of Chuck, another copy of Florence Foster Jenkins. There's a movie that I got last time, finally, is The D Train with Jack Black and James Marsden, Blu-ray and digital HD. We'd love to hear what kind of shopping you guys do on the physical media. If you guys are physical media enthusiasts, do you have a Dollar Tree in your neck of the woods? Is there a facsimile of that? Is there a DVD store that you go to? Hit me up on editor@deepestdream.com. I want to hear some of your physical media adventures as well as your collection. So this is some of these. I'm going to keep Teen Spirit, probably Hugo, and the rest I'm going to give away. Well, I'll see you in my dreams as well. But again, some of these will be up for the weekly Blu-ray giveaways that I'm doing, Blu-ray and DVD giveaways that I'm doing for the Find Your Film podcast. Check the show notes for information. All right, guys, thanks again for listening to this episode and your support of this podcast as well as Cinematics. Take care, guys, and have a great week. Bye.